Yeah, you read that right. I'm reviewing the Avengers for this January of Suck. It's not the one you're thinking. It's actually based on the old British show, which was named The Avengers. How do I put this? I mean, obviously the movie's not good, but given that I've never been a fan of the show, I've only just been aware of it for years. I can't really say I'm too mad at this movie. I mean, I fully understand if you're a fan of the show. I've heard a lot of things about how the movie is disrespectful to the show, even going so far as to make the two lead characters lovers, even though they weren't in the show. So I totally get that, but gotta be honest, I can't really get mad at it. I mean, the only thing I can say is that the movie is, in fact, a bad movie. I mean, for a number of reasons, starting with a lot of it just feels like a joke. Like not in the sense of it being a comedy, but as in this feels like the kind of movie that you'd see being a part of another movie that was just making like a fake parody kind of movie, just to fill up like a certain thing, like a theater or something. That's what this feels like because the characters are all British, and I don't mean that in terms of that's where they're supposed to be. They're supposed to be from England and whatnot. Like no, as in if you've ever seen anything where it's like here's what a stereotypical British person acts like. That's this movie. You know, you can pretty much fill out a majority of the dialogue with like stuff like "pip pip cheerio" or just random other things that you would think of when you think of British person, and you'd pretty much fill out the entire movie because that's how it goes. Like, uh, you know, just so we can get it out of the way. The movie stars Ralph Fiennes and Uma Thurman as secret agent spies. Steed and Peel. I believe that was their names. I know Ralph Fiennes was like Steed and Uma Thurman was Peel. But point being is that they're these characters, and yeah, like every time they talk, it's like you're a little too nonchalant for everything. And this should be charming to see like spies who are, not really too intense or aggressive or anything about what's going on. They just act like they're just British gentlemen, ladies, whatever. But I never really found it as funny so much as it was kind of annoying. Like it's just weird because again, it's just stereotypical British talk, and it's weird. It's not really entertaining. It's not funny, and you just have to wonder why they're doing this. And that's kind of how the whole movie is like. Pretty much the whole movie is they're spies. They're trying to stop a madman who has like this weather machine uh, from unleashing it on the world, and spies, whatever. And aside from that, like I said, the stereotypical British talk all throughout. It's also just got weird things in the plot that not that it's not explained or anything, but it's just a little too weird. Like like for example, one of the scenes that I remember about this movie that has been talked about by lots of other people is that there's a bit where the villain of the movie, Sean Connery, is in a meeting with a bunch of other people, and they're all dressed in bear costumes. Now, I don't know if this is a reference to the show. I don't think it is, just because I've never really seen anyone who mentions it is, but it could be, given that, again, I'm not familiar with it. Uh, I'm just looking at it and I'm like, why are they in bear costumes? Like, not that I really need an explanation, but at the same time, I kind of want to understand what is the reason why they're in there. Um, I mean, that they're having a meeting and they're trying to be secretive about it, but again, why bear costumes? It's why. Then you get stuff like the characters going through um, a maze. I mean, I guess it kind of, it's not exactly a bad thing. It's just one of those things where I'm kind of like, wait, why are they going through this? I mean, I know they're going through a certain destination, but why specifically is a maze the setting? Uh, there's a thing where the characters report to a man who's named Mother, and then they have another boss who's named Father, and she's a woman. And again, maybe it's something from the show. Maybe it's supposed to be something that's cute and charming, but presented in the movie, it's just more of those things where I'm kind of just wondering why. Like, why not just call the guy father and call the woman mother? I mean, again, maybe it's a thing in the show, but as is in the movie, I don't really get it, and it's not presented in a way that's charming enough for me to grasp. In a way that makes me say, okay, I get why they did that, even though it's weird, but the movie makes it work. It doesn't, and again, it just all comes back to where this movie loses me is that so much of it is just stereotypical British talk and mannerisms, and it gets to a point where at times I have to wonder if this would be considered offensive. I mean, not that no one here is actually British. I mean, they have plenty of English actors in the show. I mean, in the movie, but it's done to a point where, like, if for example, for me, I'm, of Mexican heritage. If I decided to make a movie where the main characters just talked about tacos, uh, mariachi, and all that stuff, for no other reason just because I want you to know that it's a Mexican movie. And yeah, I at the same at one point, on one hand, it's fine because it's like, okay, well, if the person is actually Mexican, then it should be okay. But at the same time, it's pushed to a degree where it's like a little uncomfortable, not really funny, not charming. Just why? And that's I really have no words for it. Why? And I know that's all I'm saying in this review, but that's really my only reaction. Is just why it's not entertaining, and I'm left more confused than I am. I mean, I'll say this much in the movie's favor. It's, I gotta give it props for being not a very long movie, and it doesn't feel like it needed to be any longer. Granted, didn't need to be this long either, just because it's bad, but at the same time, it at least tells the story that it needs to without overdoing it, which is something that I do kind of miss in a lot of movies, because most movies these days have to run at a 2 hour time frame, and you could tell a lot of them could be better or could run smoother if they were just hacked a little bit more. And this really, at least at the very least, running at 90 minutes, it feels fine. I never felt that the movie dragged. I was just more or less confused as to why any of this mattered and why it was supposed to be charming. And that's just my whole thing. It's just none of this is really that charming. It's not amusing, but at the very least, it at least understands how long it needs to be. It just really needed refinement. It's not the worst movie I've ever seen. I know, going by the Rotten Tomato score and just what people have said, it's often touted as one of the worst movies or just a really bad movie, and I'm like, maybe not that far. I mean, it's definitely a really bad one, but not one that I would put in anywhere near my top 10, let alone my top 50 bad movies I've seen. But I'm just left so confused. I mean, the only kind of amusement or charm that I got throughout this movie is that at some point you get this little old lady who is, I guess, a part of the spy agency, because she's wielding a machine gun, and it's kind of like, okay, that's kind of cool and badass. It's a little weird, but this feels like if in a better movie, it would be part of the quirks of the movie, whereas in this, it's just one of those things where it's like, nothing in the movie is really all that charming, but this one thing is kind of cute, and you wish the movie was more like that. But that's about it. Again, not a very good movie. Don't watch this Avengers. Watch the one with the superheroes. On one hand, one thing I gotta add to this is Uma Thurman at one point shows up in a black suit, and she definitely looks like Black Widow. So Maybe they were trying to do the superhero movie. Well, they still did a bad job, whether it was trying to be like the comic book Avengers or the TV show Avengers. And I haven't even seen the TV show Avengers, but I know that it's pretty bad. So, yeah. Oh well.